in days gone by and what makes a good program. And then we're following that with a new feature in Our Friends in Radio, where I'm asking colleagues to reveal their radio journey, past, present and future. And today I'm very pleased to be interviewing my good friend Tony Smith, founder and station manager of Angel Radio. I can promise you a fascinating chat with Tony, who has a wealth of experience and knowledge, particularly in the field of community radio here in the UK. We've also once again had a lovely response to our last programme, so we'll be saying hello to you if you've been in contact with us. As normal, our World Service programme is here for 30 minutes, and if you're listening to one of our 1-hour transmission slots,
hello everybody.
This show with another of our vintage music programmes, The Wireless Years.
So this is 9955 kilohertz. 9955 kilohertz radio via WRMI. So signal was not too bad. And hello everybody. Just preparing myself for the show. Hope everybody's all right. Checking out, everything looks okay. This is here. I'm going to show you guys a little something I received today from our friend Aerial Imaging. It's in the chat room. I don't know if it's going to be here tonight, but here's a couple of really nice little holders for our receivers. They are very nice, from friend Ryan, which is known as Aerial Imaging in the chat room. Really cool, made of wood. Very nice little devices that I'll be using to hold up my radios. So it's kind of cool, and I'll be thanking him for the gifts. Thank you for the gifts. And I'll be talking about this little device that I got, and talk to you about the fact that, well, you'll see. Got a lot to talk about. Okay, so hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the Wednesday edition of the show. Hope that you enjoy. Let me just make sure everything's all right here. Everything's all right here. And this is going to be perfect. And here we go. So welcome. This is the Shortwave radio stream. We are live twice a week. We are live on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. So it's Wednesday in North America. It's Thursday for a big chunk of the world. It's Thursday for a big chunk of the world. And that means that it's 0 UTC, of course, is Thursday in Europe and for the rest of the world, pretty much. And we are live on Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern. That's 20 hours Universal Time. We talk about shortwave radio in general, every aspect of 0 to 30 megahertz, and try to have some fun with radio in general, and just have great moments with people that are fantastic. We have a wonderful chat room that you can join and talk with amazing people. You can say hi, by the way, through email, officialshortwaveradio@gmail.com. I'll be monitoring this tonight. Right now, there's no emails. We'll be checking it out every 10, 15 minutes. And hey, we have, I think it's a great group of people that we have, here and on the Facebook group also that we have. When the party's over here, there's a Facebook group where it continues and we share what we're listening to. And this helps us basically have probably the best of times with our hobby, with a diverse group of people that have different radios, different experiences from the beginner to the experienced listener and amateur radio operator. And one thing that I think is cool is everybody is respecting each other on their opinions and on their their questions, and nobody's going to feel stupid in this group, because asking a question is far from being stupid. Asking a question is what will help you learn on the hobby. How many things, let's go back, all of you, how many things did you learn over time? How many things, you started the hobby? We all knew nothing about this. Even in the good old days, it was kind of easier in a way because you just tune everywhere and there was something. If you had a decent radio, you just, tune the dial and there was something. And somehow it made it easier it was easier to listen to some signals in some stations in some way. But we didn't know what we were doing. We were just tuning, and it was like, what's that? What's this? What's that language? That sounds funny. All the weird things that are out there. But we had to learn at some point. We had to ask questions, and sometimes we are shy to ask a question. Sometimes even the best of us, even the one that says no, questions are fine, will hesitate in asking a question because he'll deem that, well, I've shown that I know a lot about the hobby. Now, if I actually ask that question, I'm afraid that they're going to look at me like, really? That question? You're asking that question with all the knowledge you have? I have questions that come up all the time. I see posts of somebody doing something, and I'm like, how do you do that? I don't know everything. I don't think nobody knows everything. We all have an aspect, dark side of our hobby that we haven't fulfilled, that we haven't really looked at. There's no shame in asking questions. And basically, the only dumb people are the ones that are laughing at those asking questions, not those asking the questions. And it doesn't show, but I say it all the time. I answer questions sometimes through videos. And I do have people telling me, well, why did you answer that? You'll see the attitude. Why did you answer that simple question with a video? Because that simple question, somebody asked it first. And by association, you understand that if one person asked it, there are dozens of people watching my channel that are also asking themselves that same question. So, yes, it's worth making a video. And if it's too simple for you, why the hell did you look at it? You could move on and watch something else. It's when I get these comments sometimes, it's like, please. Yeah. Why did you even take the time to comment, honestly? So, you get that. And like I said, we all learn together, and there's a lot of newbies here in the that we've been able to gather around us here, which is kind of cool when you think about it. Who think that who would have thought that in 2021, and with the state of how shortwave is today, and noise and everything, that we'd be able to actually get some people to watch the show and start in the hobby. It's mind-blowing. So everybody is welcome here. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast part of North America. And we're here to entertain and have fun in our hobby. So we'll say hi to the chat room. Bobby Burgess, WA5107SWL, Morgan City, Louisiana. Nice to have you here. Tim Lewis, nice to have you on board. Cooking curry, watching the waterfall in Isiaruno, and sending the best wishes from Eastern Long Island. Cool. James Johnson, nice to have you here from Florida, WA4493SWL. Dennis, nice to have you here, WA9326SWL in Southern Illinois. Mark Cope, WA5153SWL in Dallas, Texas. Good evening. Canadian radio TV guy, nice to have you on board. Having pizza night in Alberta. Cool. David, KJ4CMY, nice to have you on board, my friend from Georgia. Canadian radio TV guy, just purchased the Ethon Field radio since the DSP chip in my old one broke. I tried to fix it, but it just made it worse. Yeah, today's radios are tough to really fix, honestly. Really tough to fix. So arriving tomorrow with Prime. Cool. Matt, nice to have you here. MDK2 from Denver, Colorado, USA. Dave, nice to have you on board. And he has the question, how can the DSP chip get broken? Well, it's not impossible. I mean, a chip is a chip. Sometimes there could be one of the chips had a quality control problem, and it just stops. Vodka and cranberry. Dave is from Indianapolis. Nice to have you here. Chuck, nice to have you on board from outside Philadelphia. Brawler, nice to have you here from Northeast Arkansas. JRDX, nice to have you on board. We have the Blind Picker, nice to have you here. Rob W0RAB in Connecticut. And aerial imaging, look at that aerial imaging. What I got something that's so cool. These beautiful little radio holders, really beautiful. Look at that, very nice, with little feet underneath and a little bit of silicone bottom to put the radio and make sure it doesn't slip and everything. Really, really nice. Smells paint, smells fresh. So they are really beautiful, made out of wood. Really, really nice. And thanks for sending me those. They will be of good use. Actually, I had to take the radios off because I already had radios in them. At the PL330 on the small one, and the Texan PL99, Texan PL600 on the bigger one. So they are beautiful. Thank you so much for the gift. It's much appreciated. And you will see that they will be put to good use for sure. What else do we have? So, okay, here it goes. Donald Hosmer, nice to have you here from Michigan, W8SWL. Donald Hosmer says, can you comment on the noise reduction feature on the new Malachite DSP receiver? Does it cut down the background noise? Noise reduction works great on the ICOM 7200. So here's the thing. I had in exactly 4 hours of use of the receiver. The problem I'm getting now is it doesn't charge. It doesn't charge. I'm not able to charge it back. The little light for charging lights up, but it seems that it never gets a charge. So I don't know. I tried 2 different cables, 2 different power supplies, charging it on a computer, and it still doesn't. So I'm kind of stuck with a radio that does not work anymore right now because the battery's dead. So that's the first problem I'm getting with this, which is kind of sad. So I don't know what I'm going to do. One thing for sure. So here's the thing. For those, let's go back to the story, the original story. So this is the Chinese malachite DSP. I posted, I think, 3 videos yesterday, and you see it in action. There's a little screen here with the waterfall and everything. It's a touch screen and all of that. And so I enjoyed using it for about 4 hours before it needed recharge. And, well, it doesn't charge. So that's the big, big problem. So I've been checking out different cables, checking out different chargers in different ways. Still doesn't work. Now, this thing took a long time to come to a point where I got tired because on the eBay, the tracking said that it was delivered when I didn't have it, so on. And I actually said to the guy, "Look, I'm tired of it says it's delivered. I don't have it," and so on. And so finally, the guy in China actually refunded me all the money. So technically, what I have in my hand right now is not paid for. But if it doesn't charge, I don't know why I should pay for it anyways now. What I will be doing is I'll be, there's a lot of screws on it. I'll be unscrewing it and I'll be opening the receiver. And I thought at the same time what's going to be nice is I'll be able to show you guys what's inside at the same time. Because, I mean, it doesn't work now because it doesn't charge, so I need to find a way to have it working. Obviously, it works. The problem is not that it doesn't work, it doesn't charge, and that's a very different problem. So I'll be checking out what I'm going to do. I'll be opening it, and like I said, if I open it, I'll make videos. Now, what did I learn in 4 hours of using it? Now, of course, this comes with the demo software, which is super awkward to use. It's like a very, very bizarre way of using it, and it doesn't have all the options. It is stuck to be used up to 200 megahertz. When you actually pay for the official software and upgrade, it actually is officially becomes a really wide band receiver up to 2 gigahertz. Now, apart from the awkward menus and the very weird usage that it is, I've tuned the bands, I've tuned amateur bands, I've tuned shortwave using the telescopic, using the MLA30, and I already have a really good idea in 4 hours of intense use of what I think of this receiver. Now, note that they did not put malachite, money, or whatever on it. They just say it's a DSP SDR. So they're kind of avoiding the, but it's obvious that it's copied from the design. Now, one thing that I want to mention here for everybody that want to buy one of these, there's several versions of the clone, and of course, the real original one is made by a Russian guy, George, and it apparently is another thing. It's totally different and performs better and everything. Comes already stock with a good software in it. What I would say is that, first of all, if you buy one of the clones, the ones, because a lot of people have been saying, "Oh, look at that, the clones are so bad." But every review of the clones that I've seen are all the ones that's the cheap one, 70. That's 70, like $70. This one is not $70. This one is more expensive. This one is $149. And it is different in its design, and it is different in the way that it actually is. And it performs better than the cheap $70 one. Does it perform as good as the Russian one? I don't know, because I don't really know about the performance, much of the performance of the Russian one. If I take into account the comments I've seen, probably the Russian one is better. This is what I see in the comments. But this one that is more expensive from China is definitely better. The one that is the cheapest one, that's the one that is almost unusable because it's so bad in many aspects. This one is actually usable, except that you need to really upgrade the firmware to have the correct software in it. In 4 hours of use, first of all, in the back, these two little things are the speakers. They're kind of small subwoofers almost. They sound amazing. I mean, the sound quality of this is one of the best I've had in a radio. It's so amazing. That was something that totally impressed me. The performance of the receiver. Here's the thing. Using the telescopic, one of the biggest problems you get is spurious signals coming from the internal circuit of the radio popping up on the display and popping up everywhere in the frequency range. I've still been able to tune around. I mean, one of the videos I showed that I'm listening to Radio Romania, 73, 75 kilohertz, and I'm using only the telescopic. It works. If the signal that you're listening to doesn't fall on a spurious signal, you're okay. But if the signal you want to hear is on a spurious signal, you're out of luck because you're not going to hear that signal. Now, this is from the telescopic. A lot of people have been mentioning there's a problem with the telescopic, and it seems it's not matching, and so it doesn't receive as well. I've not tested it enough to really compare with a regular portable. But what I heard with the telescopic seemed to be at a pretty decent level. The real big problem was really internal noise more than anything else on this thing. Because the signals were there with the telescopic. The other thing is I put the MLA30 on this. Of course, with the MLA30, this thing shines. It receives signals really well, except it overloads. And it overloads crazy with strong signals. So to give you an example, I wanted to tune Radio Vanucuba 6000 kilohertz. And all I was hearing on it was, I was hearing Radio Vanucuba with a mix of Radio Marti that has a tremendous signal here. And so I could hear Spanish from Radio Marti at the same time as Radio Vanucuba on 6000. And even if I used the RF gain, I had to put the RF gain to 0. It improved things. I did hear Radio Vanucuba better. I could still hear Radio Marti in the background. It was not totally gone. It was still overloading slightly from Radio Marti. To answer the question about noise reduction, Donald, I have turned on and off the noise reduction a few times on some signals. It definitely works. It definitely works. And in some cases, made it interesting, made it nice to listen to some of the stations that had a little bit of noise on them. Once again, I need to have it back up and working again to really be able to give you guys a better idea, because I need to test more of the functionalities. To give you an idea of how this thing is weird with its stock software, it took me an hour and a half to just understand how to change from lower to upper sideband in AM mode. I mean, there's no real instruction manuals on this thing. You gotta just play with it and try to understand how to activate stuff and how to tune stuff and how to use stuff. Touchscreen was pretty responsive. Although when you touch the screen, you immediately hear a lot more noise on the HF bands. And then when you move your hand away, the noise goes away. So the screen did induce a lot of noise when it was used. So now all I have to do is find a way to charge it. And well, if everything continues like this, the only way I'll be able to do something with this will be to open it up and see what I can do. Like I said, it works. It's not that it doesn't work. It's just that it doesn't charge. So I need to find a way to have this working. So because it is in that state, because I got it yesterday and it was working and everything, and I thought, so got it. Okay, the Chinese guy has refunded me, and I thought, well, now I got it, and of course, if I keep it, I have to give the guy back his money. I mean, he sold me something. I got it now. It works. I need to be fair. But now, because it doesn't charge, I don't feel as much as I need to be fair now. So what I decided to do is I'm going to write the guy. I'm going to say, hey, I got it, but it doesn't charge. So it's kind of a brick right now. And told him, we'll tell him, look, it doesn't charge, so it doesn't work. I don't see why I should pay for anything. So anyways, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen, and I'm going to open this little sucker up and probably make a few videos showing the internal circuits. But that's the take I have on it right now. It definitely receives shortwave very well. Like I said, with overload, when signals are too strong, though. But definitely, my first impression was actually very amazed at the performance of this little thing and the amazing sound quality out of it. For the rest, we'll see. I'll have to find a way to charge it or find a way to, because I believe there's an 18650 lithium ion inside. If I can find a way to just switch the lithium ion, with another one and have it working, and I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen, anyways. So, and if anybody has an idea of how I could have this sucker back up charging. Like I said, 2 different cables, 2 different chargers, even tried on the PC. It has this has it's a USB-C port that's in here. So I've got, I only have 2 cables that are USB-C here, but none of them actually did charge this thing. The light, there's a little green light that turns on when it charges, but it doesn't seem to do anything. It doesn't seem to charge. I left it like 6 hours, 7 hours, and the radio turned on with a very dim screen, and then it turned off, which kind of told me, well, the battery's dead. So that's pretty much it. Okay. Jeff King, nice to have you here from Jacksonville, Florida. New Jersey DXer, nice to have you on board. Ray Carlisi. James Johnson, nice to have you on board. Sokoff One, nice to have you here from San Diego. Joe from Newmarket, Virginia. Volcano Time Lapse, nice to have you here from Louisville, Kentucky. Eric Cottrell, bonjour, hi, nice to have you on board from a dark Boston. Great day today. Yeah, it was beautiful also here too. We're supposed to be in the 70s in the next couple of days. This is going to be nice. Mike Jam, nice to have you here from New Hampshire. What else do we have? Mobile Armored Strike Command, nice to have you on board. From Boulder Hill. Northern Dawn, nice to have you here. Trimbali Mr. Bale, nice to have you on board. Skip Airy, nice to have you here. Skip N2EI, nice to have you on board as usual. Randy, Riverside, California. Kimberly, K6YYL from California. Mark Alfred from Vancouver, British Columbia. Nice to have everybody here. Joey, nice to have you here. Any opinions on the death of Brother Stair and the future of those stations you bought time on? We're going to talk about it. Richard, the email address here is official shortwave radio. All words. Official shortwave radio at gmail.com. And if we look here, we have Elizabeth saying hello from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. We have Dave saying hello from Texas. Says he enjoys the show. Always fun to watch. And so that's pretty much it for now. So if you want to, guys are not in the chat room and want to say hi, don't forget to let us know where you are from. Just write official shortwave radio at gmail.com. We have Northern Dawn. I like the coverage on the channel this week. Cool. But we'll talk about it a little bit. Yes, Brother Stair is dead. William Helms, what Japanese station was on 7235 last night? 7235. Let's so you sure it was Japanese? And what time do you remember the UTC time, William? Because 7235 and here. Whoops. 35. Nothing is in Japanese according to EIBI Space, but you could have had I don't know. What time was it when you got the station, out of curiosity? Because 7235 does not seem to have any Japanese station. Yeah, usually when EIBI Space and AOKey lists get really up to date, the schedule apps like the Skywave app in Android usually is up to date also because it uses these lists. So Skywave, let me just check it out here. Skywave schedules. For those that don't know, for Android, you have an app called Skywave Schedules. Really nice little app where you can check out the so update schedules. Yes, and here we go. Updating with the latest schedules. And this app will let you know what's on the air. If you're wondering what you're listening to on a frequency, you can punch in that frequency and it will tell you what might be on the air on that frequency. You can, of course, even see a map of the transmitter. You even have the possibility of actually tuning a station off in SDR from somewhere on the internet around the world. Lots of really cool stuff. What else? Rudolph, nice to have you on board from Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania. And hope everybody's all right. Absolutely. Rudolph says official shortwave channel is a safe space and a brave space for all. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, finally, IBI Space updated the schedules, which is so welcome. So welcome. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of corrections, though, because, you know, the first iteration of a list of the IBI Space often has a little bit of mistakes in them. But as time goes by, it's going to be fixed. Bubba Schwartz, nice to have you here from Miami, Florida. Chas Tank, nice to have you on board from Louisville, Kentucky. Mika Dalmage, nice to have you here from Sherwood Park, Alberta. Rich says, Joel, you have too much insight into the fragile male ego. Nice to have you here from North Carolina. James Johnson says, the big question is what's going to happen with the transmitters that's in Florida? Well, I'm going to see. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Tom DXer, WPE2QED from the Hudson Valley, New York. Nice to have you here. G. Lee, nice to have you here from Central California, WA6120SWL. Paul, nice to have you here from St. Joe, Michigan. Jet Crafter, nice to have you on board from Maine. Just finished smoking ribs, and they were delicious. Aha. Any leftovers? What else do we have? What else do we have? Let's try to get lots of buffering, says William. Yeah, maybe it's on your end that it's happening. Call Icon, nice to have you here. Call from New York. Michael Rankin, nice to have you here from Arizona, the KA7VJI. Bernie Dodge, nice to have you here from San Diego, KD1BD. And he's going through a box of miscellaneous cords and cables. That's always a box where you usually like find a cable and you're like, oh, I got this cable. Chris Alpha Tango, nice to have you on board. It's like at Christmas, I like to go into the box of lights because I'm the guy that keeps the old lights, you know, the even if they don't work anymore, I just keep them at the bottom of the box because I'm always thinking, well, maybe I can, you know, use one of the bulbs to fix, you know, another set or something. But over the years, that means that it's actually accumulating a huge amount of stuff. And you're like, you open that box and it's like almost you're traveling through time in a Christmas light bulb box. It's just crazy. Northern Dawn 6130 can't work out the language. Yeah, so I can't charge it, and well, you know, I got my money back, so I mean, I'm not losing anything. I just got a dead box right now. Bobby Burgess, nice to have you here. Yogi, nice to have you on board. Yeah, well, that is one thing that I thought is, you know, it's just because I have to remove the screws, and at the worst, I thought, well, you know, if it works by just changing the battery manually, I'll find a way to just make sure that the box, I can open the box easily to change the battery and stuff. So, you know. Joe Gomez, nice to have you here from San Diego, California. Joe Rotman, nice to have you on board. Well, I'm not going to return it. I didn't pay for it. So it's going to stay here. It just doesn't work. Aerial imaging says, just for your information, the grip strips on the radio will not leave adhesive on the radios. They contain no adhesive. They're a polymer grip substance. The tackiness will relax in time. No problem. And it's really nice. Thanks again for the gifts. And hey, if you want to make money on the side, why not sell those to some of the people in the group that want to have stands for the radios? Jean-François Trudel, bonjour, good evening. Nice to have you here. Have an MLA30 and wondering if I would buy the MLA30 Plus. What would be the advantage? Is it worth it? Thanks. Really not much of a difference. It's not really worth it to, you know, if you want to have a second one, it's okay. But apart from that, you're not getting, over time and testing of the three that I have here, including the original one, I don't see a difference really in any. They're pretty much all the same. So, you know. Well, you know, Bobby, the worst part is that everybody complains of the performance, but nobody complains of that it doesn't charge. I'm the only one that has the one that doesn't charge. So, you know, we'll be checking it out. Skip says, sounds like karma. Yeah, I don't know. It's the Chinese guy that sent some bad waves. Said, hey, the Canadian didn't pay for it. I'm gonna make sure it doesn't charge. You know. Yeah, well, the Malachite forums are mostly on the radio performs bad or not, and the different versions, because there's like tons of different versions of it. Chris Alpha Tango asks if anyone wants to work 40 meters. So I'm going to check it out anyways, and I think it's an 18650 in there. So if I can open it and swap batteries, I'll do that. Actually, it will be a great way of doing it, even better for me, because if I bring this thing along at Perry Island, I mean, it consumes a lot of power. It comes kind of lukewarm when you use it. So you see that there is power consumption in there. And I've seen that it's rated at like 300 milliamps that's used when it's actually working. So you won't have a full day of battery on this thing. If I can render that thing as just a swap of the battery and then continue using it, that'll be even better, because I have like 15, 18 650s lying around. I can use them all to, take the radio. So we'll see. I'm going to open it anyways. That's for sure. By the weekend, it's going to be open. It's just that it has this weird. I have to find my box of. I got a big box of bits for the screwdrivers, because it has these hexagonal kind of screws. So I need to find the correct thing, or maybe I have got a set of Allen keys there. Maybe with Allen keys I can actually have one that fits in here and easily open it. So if I can open this thing and swap batteries, I might end up not putting the screws back, but putting some kind of a system to have it, easy to open when I need to change the battery, So, it's the way it is. But anyways, I didn't pay for it. So honestly, I find it sad as it doesn't charge, because after 4 hours of using it, I was kind of starting to like it. But I'll have a way of having it working again. I was thinking, at the worst, I'll find a way to power it with, I can maybe, power it directly in some other way and use a power bank, like my phone's power bank, which would be nice, because I mean, it would help me get a lot more battery life, even if I had the battery bank with it. It's battery bank, I got it, don't have it very far from here, but it's one of those 10,000 milliamps battery bank. More than that, I think it's 20,000 milliamp, which means I would get a lot more out of it anyways. We'll see. What else do we have? Rufus, nice to have you here from the Laurentian Valley, Ontario. 4-week lockdown. Yes, I saw that. Here it's a delicate situation. So right now they're kind of looking at what's going to happen. So we'll see. And I was not lucky. I was not able to get. A vaccine shot, unfortunately, even though I am helping out. So you got other people there with not charging the battery. Yeah, might be a common problem then. Harry Cottrell, nice to have you here from Massachusetts. Matt Reader DXer, nice to have you on board from the UK. Hector Vasquez, nice to have you here. Well, you got to contact that George guy directly. Send him the money. It takes a few months before you actually get the radio. So there's a way to contact the guy. Moderator DXer, saw the videos you uploaded with the Malahite. Any chance you can compare performance with the Fedri using the same external antenna in the future videos? Yeah, if I can get it working again. But you know, it's kind of interesting. Yeah, could it be a defective battery? That's not impossible. It could be the battery that's the problem, and not the radio's charger. I don't know. We're gonna have to check that out for sure. Yeah, it doesn't work. That's the other thing. Because I thought, well, if I plug it into a power supply, it should be working plugged in. So yeah, I'm gonna check it out. Apparently, it's an 18650. So I would be able to charge it externally. So John McClure, nice to have you on board. Well, technically, USB-C should not have an upside down, since it's a cable that's supposed to work on all the whatever side you have it. But I still have tried to reverse, just in case that for some reason that USB-C was done in a weird way that you have to, have it in a specific. But I mean, the light is there. There's a little green light that lights up in the little hole, and but the battery doesn't charge. It really doesn't charge. Canadian Radio TV guy has Radio Nikkei on 6115 on the West Coast. Fast load, nice to have you here. Yeah, it does sound like a charger circuit problem. Because I thought also the same thing. When you plug it in on the power supply, it should be working from the USB-C charge. And, but it's weird. TMO, is there a way to reset the device? There's no reset per se. I don't see any reset, except there's no holes for a reset or anything. There's a little button at the bottom that is for battery. There's really doesn't seem to be any reset way of. I tried everything. I tried pretty much everything. I'm going to have to open it. It's the last chance. It's going to be opened up, and I'll take some videos of the insides at the same time. Does the MLA30 work with the Radio R108? Yes, it does. You just need the proper cable to adapt the SMA to a 1/8 plug, but it does work as long as you have the adapter. Command Z76, nice to have you here from West Michigan. I already did that, Jerry. It was plugged in all night last night. It was plugged in all day today. And like I said, Trimbali, Mr. Bell, I have switched the plug in one way or the other. But, the fact that the green light turns on tells me that it's powered up. It just doesn't work. No, Yogi, I've seen a couple of videos. It does use an 18650. It uses a 1500 milliamp hour 18650. That is what I've seen in many of the places. So it's supposed to be that. I'll see when I open it up, but that's pretty much what I've read everywhere. John Brocato, nice to have you here from Pittsburgh. Everybody's saying hello to Elizabeth. Chrissy Rose, nice to have you here. Just bought the MLA30 in hopes that it works my SDR V3, thinking on canceling it in a rent since I have an apartment and don't want people to think I have an antenna farm going. Yeah, well, the MLA30 should work quite well on your SDR, your RTL SDR V3, especially the fact that it's going to have that shielded cable that's going to take it away from it, from the computer and all. Mike WDX50, nice to have you on board from Northwest Arkansas. Scott Belcher, as I understand it, they're only been playing reruns of Brother Stair the last 2 years because of his controversy. Yeah, I don't know if it's possible that it was. It's possible that it was reruns already. That is totally possible. I wouldn't be surprised. One of the things that I actually had thought about the Brother Stair playing, maybe already playing reruns, was the fact that a couple of years back when Glenn Hauser would rant at Brother Stair broadcasts, Brother Stair would sometimes in his broadcasts rant at Glenn Hauser. So you knew that was pretty much live, since there was an answer back to some of the programs, but I hadn't had that in such a long time that it made me think maybe it's possible that it was reruns. Totally possible. So Covert RF, nice to have you here. Says you're doing a great thing with your channel. Appreciate all you do for the hobby. Cool, thanks. William Helm saying hello to Elizabeth. Charity X says maybe stick the radio in a bowl of rice and the battery will charge in the morning. Hey, I didn't drop it in the water. Man. Crognapper. Mine has a reset switch on the bottom. If yours has one, switch it off for about 10 seconds and back on. Yeah, I know. I do have that switch here on the bottom. And if I switch it off and then switch it back on, but it doesn't change anything. Hasn't changed anything at all. So definitely, like I said, it works. It just doesn't have power right now because it doesn't charge. So that's what I'm going to need to check out. Even after the show, maybe I'm going to try to find, maybe if I can find my Allen keys, maybe I can actually have one that fits with the screws here, and I can open it up tonight. Because I got to say, I have to say one thing. Now that I've used it for 4 hours, I want to use it more because I kind of found it kind of cool actually as a device. It was really nice to have a little device with a little screen in my hands listening to shortwave. It was actually a very, very cool little device to have. But I need to have it working now. Eric Cottrell says, I think Brother Stair will go the same way as Dr. Gene Scott. That is not impossible. That is not impossible. I mean, we still hear him right now. We still hear him right now. So, we'll see. What else do we have? What else do we have? How do I get my real antenna unstuck? Unstuck from where? Kimberly is making spaghetti and meatballs. Wow. I made myself a homemade pizza today, which was pretty good, with bacon and onions and Swiss cheese on top. It was actually real good. Ralph, nice to have you here from sunny New Jersey. Dimitri, nice to have you on board, my friend. Rufus Newt says handmade pizza, feta, ham, cheese, and bacon. Cool. Everybody's cooking. It's stuck in the reel. It's like caught. Okay, when you reeled it in, it kind of messed up inside the reel thing. Yeah, I don't know. You'll have to open it up somehow. I've had that happen on one of my reel-in antennas that I'd used many years. One night I reeled it in and it was kind of rough a little bit, and it just got stuck and wouldn't come out anymore. So, Bagel, nice to have you here. Where are you located? Rudolph White, by the way, Jill, what are you sipping tonight? Looks like a Killian's Red. It's actually a vodka and cranberry juice. So there's like 2 ounces of vodka ish, and the rest is cranberry juice, which I've been having for a while recently. So, probably Mr. Bell should get 4 spare batteries, glue them to the back of the radio, connect them to the battery terminal outside. I'm going to check it out. That's for sure. JRDX, Chinese guy sent you a radio from the reject box. Yeah, something like that, Canadian radio TV guy. I know I have to find, because when I had when I was doing my tech duties, I had a small kit of a lot of different bits, because Mac computers, for example, used a different set of screws. When you wanted to fix a Mac, you needed to have those special screwdrivers. So I think that was what it is. This looks like I really don't see it that well, but let me just check it out here quickly. I'm gonna check it out with this guy's. Yeah, it's kind of hexagonal. It honestly, it looks like the kind of screws that you have with an Allen key. I don't know if you guys can see it well. I'm not sure you guys. Okay, I don't know if you guys could see it. This is what it looks like. So I'm sure I got something here to open that, because I had pretty much I have every type of bits possible in a box somewhere. I just need to find my box, because I'm pretty sure I have whatever it takes to open that. Aerial imaging, actually have sold a number of them to interested parties. If anyone else is interested, I'm happy to oblige. So, hey, if you guys want to have one of those nice, beautiful, handcrafted little stands, they are very beautiful, by our friend Aerial Imaging. Check it out. And in my case, he even labeled the radios underneath. Texan PL330, Texan PL990X, 2 different sizes. So, and of course, they can be used for all sorts of radios. Very, very, very nicely made, and very beautiful. And like a little bit of felt here so that it doesn't scratch the radio's back. And some silicone on the bottom so that the radio doesn't slip or move. Really cool. Really, really nice. If you guys want to ask for a nice stand for your portable receiver, very nicely made. Very beautiful. Our friend here, Aerial Imaging. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do at JRDX. If I can convert it to use like a power bank, an external power bank instead, I would like that. Yarabamba, nice to have you here with the stay-at-home order looming in Ontario. I will have more time for shortwave listening at home. Cool. At least there's a positive side to it. So, yeah, it's possible that it's a cold solder joint or something that's not right on the USB socket. Yeah, the Torx screws, I know. Aerial imaging, these radios are commonly sold in kit form, so it's probably pretty manageable to open it up and to reassemble the components. Yeah, I was looking at the screws and the way that it was actually shut. And the first thing that while I was looking at it, was the first thing came to mind was, doesn't look very complex to open this thing to really go play around with it. Because I want it working. Honestly, I had 4 hours of actual fun with this. And enough fun that I will, I got to tell you. Joe Turco, nice to have you here from Rochester, New York. Mad Radio DXer, only found out about your Malahide not charging after I type my comment. We'll get it started soon. This is keeping me from buying one. Yeah, it could be a bad battery, loose connection, or a bad charging circuit, something like that. We'll check it out. We'll sort it out. I have a feeling, because of all the fun I had for 4 hours, that I will want this thing back up and running soon. I will not buy another one, that's for sure. But I will have this thing running soon. Honestly, I'll be very fair though. Okay, anybody looking at this, if I have it back up and running, you're going to have more videos. What I would say is, do not purchase this, honestly, unless you know what you're going to get and you are ready to live with the problems and the fact that it comes with the demo software, and that you have to upgrade it if you really need to have the full coverage. I would not recommend anybody buy it. That's the reason I purchased it, was to show you guys without having you guys actually buy it or anything. But I gotta say, it is pretty nice still, even though if it wasn't from the charging problems. I was kind of impressed for 4 hours. And then I was not impressed when it didn't charge. So, So yeah, the real one is this guy. Actually, you send him the money and he actually builds it for you and then sends you the radio. So it takes a long time for the original one, but you'll have the original software with it though. And from what I've read, it seems to perform better. Canadian Radio TV guy says 7520, good old brother Stair right now. Yeah, I've heard him pretty much on all of its frequencies. That's why I'm wondering if it might not go on for a long time like that. Matt says an original Malachite might still be worth it if it doesn't overload or introduce noise simply by using the touchscreen like the clone anyway. That is the question I'm asking myself. Because I'll be fair, at this one at 149, if it wasn't from the charging, if it was charging and it was working well, gives me a feel of a certain amount, a certain quality feel. Metal box, it's even the encoders, the buttons and the encoders, the click, even the buttons feel surprising quality to it. So I don't want to buy one. I'd like to have a compare side by side of performance of the Russian one versus this one, so that we could see if it is that different. I'd be curious. Yeah, I tried everything. Tried pushing the buttons, both buttons, turning the buttons. Of course, there's the battery button on the bottom, that kind of a reset thing here that I've tried. And nope, I have not been successful in doing anything, which is sad. What else do we have? What else do we have? Yogi says, how could people figure that out when there's no good manual coming with this thing? Yeah, and the problem, and that is also the problem, because you know what? I will say one thing. I've read the review of the Russian one by Dave N9EWO is the call sign. The guy has an online website and has very, very, he goes through the radios really, really well. He was the one that actually came back to me in an email when I was ranting on the ICOM ICR30, and a lot of people are saying, no, you're wrong. He actually, because he has a review of the ICOM ICR30, and he was not happy on it. I had read the review, and when I ranted on the R30, he actually sent me an email because he had seen what I was talking about, and he had actually told me, I agree. I totally understand what you're saying. I got the same problem here. That thing isn't worth it. Which was pretty much what he was saying on his review also. And so, I respect that guy's reviews a lot. That guy reviewed the cheap Chinese one, which is the one at $70. He has not reviewed the Chinese one, which is this one at $150. And he reviewed the real one from Russia. One thing that I've seen is that the real one from Russia doesn't seem to be all that it should be. His review seems to say that there's some internal noise and there are some overloading going on. So when I was testing mine yesterday, I was actually looking at his review of the Russian one. And I could see the flaws of the Russian one in this, which made me wonder if the Russian one isn't maybe all that it could be. But I can't say anything because I don't have one and I've tested. But one thing for sure, I'm very careful. When I purchased the Chinese one, of course, everybody went, a lot of people went crazy, and it's like, don't buy the Chinese clone and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I've learned over time on radios is to be very careful of what people say and think, because there's a lot of Chinese bashing going on. And I understand that there's an original one from this guy in Russia. I respect that. It's totally possible that there is a a better version. It's totally possible that it's tough to say, and it's tough to say what's going to happen with what's better, what's not. I need to have both radios anyways to be able to really say, well, you know what, okay, the Russian one is clearly better. But somehow the review of Dave on his webpage did not impress me on the Russian one, to a point where that's where I came to the conclusion I didn't want to have a Russian one. And I'd rather have maybe, if I had to buy something, I'd rather have a Belka DSP then, But his main complaint, even on the Russian one, is that there is absolutely no English manual to this thing, even the Russian one. There's a Russian manual that you can actually have Google Translate. And he's kind of saying that is a big problem. If you're not super tech savvy, you're going to have a hard time understanding even the Russian one. So that's also something that to check out. Yeah, I saw that Dan Robinson had received his Texan H501X, which is the official export version of the H501, which should be available soon. So kind of interesting. So, okay, Matt, you had some Brother Stair, recent broadcast of Brother Stair, speaking of elections, so it wasn't too old. Okay, cool. I have no idea because I don't listen to Brother Stair, so I haven't checked if if whatever he's talking about. Wizard of Oz, nice to have you on board. How's ZKC9 TVN? Nice to have you here. No, nothing intuitive. Absolutely. They're tough to go through. Clean Radio TV guy says, I thought I hear from somewhere like Shortwave listening post that the Overcomer was planning to go on without Stair. Yeah, probably. Gordon, was your charger 2.5 amps or better? My charger, the first one I used was the one that comes with my Galaxy S9 phone. In the comments, actually, and the details of that radio, he mentions any smartphone charger works as long as it's a USB-C. And my Galaxy S20, it's a Galaxy S20 charger, is a very high amp charger because it's capable of charging my S20 phone in like a very short amount of time. So it definitely has enough power to charge this thing, that's for sure. I had seen somewhere about one of those powerful chargers could charge the radio in 4 hours. So I don't know. So yeah, Stair's different because he's talking about current events mixed in with his stuff that I had noticed, which is not like Gene Scott. That's more of a preacher talking about the word of God, basically, and just saying whatever. RFA Radio Free America, nice to have you on board. Thanks for the tips. Is it still true coax cable works better than random wire as an external antenna? Actually, a random wire works well, but the coax cable is the shield of the coax cable might work, but I mean, I don't see how a coax cable would be better than a standard random long wire. But to bring it into your home, a coax is needed to remove the noise from your home, though. Dave, the fault is with the broadcasters for giving the hate preachers a platform. Are they really that dependent on these customers? I think they are. I think they are because maybe that's why they're taking. I had I'm not going to go too much into it, but I have I've talked about how these stations are pretty much taking dirty money with that guy, So what else do we have? Randall Claus, did you try charging the D808 with the charger of the bad radio? Yeah, I probably did at some point, and there's no problem there. So Tony Turtle, if the energy radiates, does it matter from what part of the system? You mean on the noise, the internal noise? Yeah. Yeah, that's what I I was thinking of finding my Allen key set, because they looked like hexagonal screws. Kimberly, no, I never added. I never had a pizza with pineapple on it, but I'm sure it must be good. But one of the things is there was a lot of bacon because I purchased a big. I don't buy bacon often because I try to avoid too much, a greasy, fatty stuff. Although I eat all sorts of crap, anyways. But I purchased a pack of bacon. There was more. I purchased a big pack. It was like a family pack of bacon. And so I used some for, bacon and eggs, stuff like that last weekend. There's a lot left, and it had stayed in the fridge for a while now, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I actually put all of it on the pizza, which was about the size. I would say that the pizza I made was the size of a medium-sized pizza. And there was a lot of bacon on that pizza. And I mixed in a big onion cut in little chunks in it, which made it really good. But I'll have to try that with some pineapple at some point. RJ88 Dakota. Looks like a hex or Allen key wrench socket. Yeah, that's what made when I saw the screws, I actually thought they were more hex than Torx. Torx has a kind of a different pattern to it. This is more X like. Torx is different because the Torx screwdrivers have these like edges on each. I don't know how to explain it, which is not the case here. So this looks more like X. VT Radio, nice to have you on board, Paul, from Northern Vermont. Came in from rewiring and rehanging his 80-meter dipole in the dark. Oh. So William Helm says X bolts. Yeah, that's what I think too. Wizard of Oz, I have the Malahide DSP SDR, been using it for a month or so, and it is flawless. Loving it. It is impressive. Cool. Have you had a chance, Wizard of Oz, to be able to test it out in a band where there would be maybe real strong shortwave stations and use an external antenna with it to see if it would overload or anything? I'm just curious. Canadian Radio TV guy, I think that we shouldn't remember Brother Stair for who he was or what he did or whatever. He was one of the famous voices, that's for sure. But, Jose, nice to have you here from Chicago. Stephen Wood, nice to have you here. NBC Zambia, putting a much better signal than normal right now on 5915, languages vernacular, in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Check it out, 5915. Do I have a station there? 5915. I've not even got a little peep of signal here. Pretty crazy, eh? Trimballi, Mr. Bale, 7615 USB something. Skip. Maybe hand capacitance on the screen is betraying poor internal shielding. Yeah, that's possible. No shielding or bad shielding. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised. Jake, today is my birthday. Can I please have a moderator? That's not the way it works. What else do we have? Dmitry, I have a question for you. Where did Brother Stair found the money to pay for airtime WRMI station I guess his ministry is getting enough money off, because he's not just on shortwave. He was on a lot of AM radio outlets across the US. So the only thing I can see is that I don't know, it comes from all the people that fell into his whatever learning, or whatever you call whatever he was. Dr. Sisup, nice to have you on board. CQDX. Paul, 7615, weak but audible. It could be a MarsNet. 7615. Let's check it out here. Upper sideband. Anything here? Anything here? Well, I don't have. I should be getting. Oh. There's a lot of MarsNets around 7 megahertz. Somebody was asking me the other day, by the way, of MarsNets. A lot of the MarsNets are just above or below amateur bands. So if you're searching for MarsNets through the day, the night, a couple of 100 kilohertz above and below the amateur bands is often where you get them. There's a lot of them in the evening here. Like, let me go check here. 40. I'm going to punch in 4050. 4 megahertz. I often have them like 4070, 4080. Some of them are low and like just below the 80 meter band, but off of, they're never really in, they're not going to broadcast, say, in aeronautical frequencies and stuff like that. They respect a certain place where they will be, but it's kind of interesting. Yeah, I'll check it out, Wizard of Oz. I'm curious. I'm very curious. Because what I see is that it seems to work well, but at the same time, when I look at the Dave's review of the Russian one, which he seems to be really appreciating as a radio, there's still a lot of flaws. James Johnson, yeah, my fun sometimes is when I'm doing something at night. I go to 5085. And you can go to WTWW.us and you can actually ask for your favorite songs, which I do from time to time. It's kind of fun. Dr. Sisup in his WWV and CHU checks. So let's check it out. A little more volume here. So let's start with WWV 25,000 kilohertz, which I'm sure I'm not going to hear. So 25 megahertz, nothing. 20 megahertz, nothing. 15 megahertz, nothing. 10 megahertz seems to come in.
At the door, 1 hour, 25 minutes. Coordinated universal time.
Thought I heard something in the background. We're just gonna listen to the 10 megahertz one when it announces the time again. I had the impression I heard something in the background. Maybe it's the Brazilian one. So WWV in Denver, Colorado, in Boulder, Colorado, 10 megahertz. Pretty good signal on 10 tonight. It's pretty cool.
At the tone, 1 hour, 26 minutes. Coordinated Universal Time.
Okay. So let's continue, of course. 5 megahertz now. Yeah, it's there. A little noisy, but it's there. 2.5, still a little early for that one. CHU checks, 14670. 7850. And 3330. So that's the time checks for our friend Dr. Sisop. Come on, Matt. You can say it. You're a Brother Stair fan. I can imagine if he'd be in the same room smacking me like, what did you just say? Chris66, nice to have you here from Kentucky. Brad in Amarillo, nice to have you here. What else do we have? James Johnson, I love to see around-the-clock live shortwave broadcasts of radio plays like in the good old days. I think that would create a lot of work in the business and radio and entertainment. Yeah, these devices, the S20 and iPhones are like, they don't want you to replace a battery. They want you to buy a new phone. Scott Belcher, I would hope they can't afford as many transmitters because it's aggravating when all I get is 1 or 2 frequencies blocking others. Joey D, still love the screaming preacher for that old school shortwave radio oddity type sound. Yeah. The what else do we have? The biggest problem, Chris66 says I wish NPR and or a major broadcaster would broadcast on some on shortwave. The biggest problem is in North America, shortwave has become something that is not of interesting to any broadcaster. It actually was, that's why a lot of international broadcasters, are still broadcasting to Europe. But they're not interested in broadcasting to North America. It's a different place. And, I'm sure that when shortwave broadcasters stopped beaming to North America, they didn't do it just for, let's remove that broadcast. We're going to save money. They did it because, they probably noticed that the audience in North America wasn't there. So it was hard to justify that you got to stay on shortwave broadcasting to North America at some point. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you on board. Wizards of Oz, China, Malahit user group on Facebook. Real informative, good people. Yeah, maybe I should check that out. I saw it yesterday when I was searching for information. I saw that seemed to be a big community of the Chinese one. I'm going to check it out. Peter Holt, nice to have you here from the UK. Someone should start an NPR, National Pirate Radio. Shambali, Mr. Bale, here near Portland, Oregon, if a pizza joint doesn't have pineapple, front page on the menu, easy to read, they are garbage. Robert Prosper, nice to have you here. Man, there's so much stuff. Oh, yeah, that USB religious station. It's not from New Orleans. It's from Milton. The one on 15555. It's from Milton, Florida, which is so weird. I can't imagine somebody listening to that broadcast. I don't know. Jerry Carnes, nice to have you here from Indiana, KD9QCZ. Pretty cool. I just washed a greasy, fatty stuff down with vodka spiked cranberry juice. That's pretty much what's happening. Yeah, it's more like a star. It has points. Where this does not have points. This is more like an X one. Like you say, Trimbali, Mr. Bell. Vintage Kenzo. I live in a very rural part of southern Alberta and picked up Australia last night on 550 kilohertz AM. Wow, really? Wow. What made you think it was Australia? Did you have some ID? Mad Reader DXer here in Europe, British Stair bought airtime on channel 292. Just checked the 292 schedule, and there are now a lot of empty spaces when you would usually be on. No idea if there was they were reruns. That's interesting. Robert Prosper, how about a brief segment on the proper use of a metal slinky as an antenna? Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of people use a slinky as an antenna. I've never looked into it. Of course, you have to have the real original metal slinky. Do not try this with the crappy plastic ones today. But some people seem to report that they have a pretty good reception with that. The export, nice to have you here from Cincinnati. PDO Holt, is there a spot frequency I can check out my AR8600 on? Not been on for a long time. And where are you located? Keegan, nice to have you here from Northwest Arkansas. You'd be surprised at these preachers how much they can get a lot of money from a lot of people. Bunch of strange ham activity above the 41-meter band tonight. Very odd. It could be some Mars nets. Sometimes there's several Mars nets, and that are on at the same time. Maybe that's what you're getting. Esteban, nice to have you on board from the Canary Islands. Now listening to Radio Marti, that even intended for Cuba from Miami, crosses the Atlantic, reaching the shores and skies of Canary Islands. Cool. So 7615 is Civil Air Patrol. So it's a Civil Air Patrol net. So that's possible, absolutely. There's a lot of Civil Air Patrol shares. The U.S. government shares network. Mars, which is the military auxiliary radio system. There's a lot of activity, a lot more than we think from the U.S. military and from the military in general on the shortwave bands. It's pretty crazy. Fort Collins, Colorado. Yes, that's I said Boulder. Fort Collins, Colorado. Thank you for the correction. Bob Lewin, nice to have you here from New Jersey. Dave, what's MarsNet? So Mars is the military auxiliary radio system Think about it as the U.S. Air Force amateur radio side, where they actually have nets and make contacts. They often have nets every night. If you spot a net on the frequency, there's a good chance every night on that frequency you'll hear something. Some are weekly nets, and usually it's stations making contact from different areas. But they are U.S. military, they are U.S. Air Force, but they are a side of the U.S. Air Force that kind of sounds like amateur radio, if you want. Wizard of Oz, use it on an 80 meter end fed without a problem. Usually it is on a MLA 30 plus. It has attenuation function, but that might be for higher frequencies. Yeah, because because the Chinese one that I have here, I had to put the RF gain at 0 on 49 meters last night because it was overloading with Radio Marti. No problem, Tony Turtle. Always happy. And always thinking of, videos. I hesitated, by the way, on the rant video of Brother Stair. Should I not? And then I thought, well, I have to give my own personal viewpoints of what I thought. It's not there to offend anyone. It's my personal opinion of what I think of the character. And then, of course, I had the videos on what I think of the future of U.S. broadcasting. So think about Mars nets simply as U.S. Air Force military conducting a net. You guys know what are amateur radio nets with, stations checking in and saying hi. Well, it's kind of the same thing, but it's the U.S. military conducting these nets on their frequencies that they choose. There's a lot of them. There's really a lot of Mars nets. Yeah, the mailing address was in Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, maybe that's what mixed me up. Yeah, Jerry Carnes, absolutely. Sometimes WWVH in the background does come in, absolutely. And on 10 megahertz here in North America, it's not. It happens from time to time. We hear the Brazil station in the background of WWV also. Brad in Amarillo says with the WWV, about 2-second latency on the computer viewing your show. Wow. Matt, well, today you accused me of liking Brother Stair. I can imagine. I'm sorry. Chris Powell, nice to have you here from Minnesota. Or JDA Dakota, sometimes I can actually hear WWVH signal on 15 instead of the regular WWV. It happened once. To me. Long time ago. And I was so surprised that there was 15 megahertz propagation. And the only station that was there was actually on 15 was WWVH, and I was so surprised that I couldn't hear even a small peep of WWV. Richard in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas area, North Texas, got your email. We have Eduardo saying hello. Eduardo is says that he's been watching the show for a while. He enjoys when I do some reception of stations on the screen, and he tries to receive the stations. He really enjoys the show in general, as he's been watching for more than a year now. He's not in the chat room, but he is located in the state of Washington. So welcome aboard, Eduardo. Nice to have you here. So it's pretty cool to have everybody on board. Wizard of Oz, Elizabeth as well. She is watching tonight, Ozzy. DK5ONV from Germany. Nice to have you on board. I'll wave my hand at Germany. Hello, Germany. Nice to have you here. It's not always coded message, Mars. It's often just stations checking in with their call signs. And by the way, if you want to find out or have an idea where they are from, very often when you Google Mars and a call sign that you hear, you'll actually have a lot of information through Google on which military base they often operated from. Mad Radio DXer, what about broadcast to Asia and Africa? Can they be received in North America? I can receive them in UK and Europe. You know what's the problem, Mad Radio DXer? The problem with the positioning of North America compared to Europe is that, for example, a lot of broadcasts to Africa originate from. So let's look at the BBC to West Africa. Where does the BBC transmit from to West Africa? Yes, they can use their UK transmitter site, Wolverton, UK, which will cover part of Europe, actually. But often they broadcast from the Ascension Islands. So they're broadcasting north. And when they broadcast towards West Africa, they're actually broadcasting in the same direction as Europe. So that signal often is great. And there's a lot of stations that are not meant to Europe, but they are for Africa, for example, that come in super well in Europe. I've listened to a lot of the SDRs across Europe. I have to say I'm jealous at Europe. I want to move in Europe. I don't know. Any of you guys there in Europe want to have a radio guy for a couple of weeks as he finds an apartment or something? I mean, I listened to some of the SDRs over there, and I'm like, oh man, this is so cool. There's so much more stuff, easily accessible, and that's the thing. There's a lot of stuff to hear in North America. The problem is our noise level is out some of the weakest stations. You know, the BBC, for example, I've been hearing 11810 in the past couple of days with Texan PL 990X outside of my balcony, just, enjoying the sunshine. If you would remove the noise floor, if you would remove all that noise around me, it'd be an easy listen. I would listen to the BBC super well. The problem is, what blocks a lot of those stations broadcasting to Africa, for example, or Europe, is their noise floor. Because when a station is not broadcasting to your vicinity, your area, what happens? Signal is weaker. It's weaker because it's not the target audience, not the target area, but it still makes it. An example of that is Radio Romania to Western Europe. Romania to Western Europe means they're kind of generally broadcasting towards North America anyways. And what happens is that a lot of the Western Europe signals of Radio Romania just make it really well here, sometimes even better than the actual North American service. Because of the positioning of North America, all of these broadcasts, like to Africa, Asia, and Europe, often are broadcast away from us. So it's not the same thing as in Europe when a lot of the broadcasts are in a general vicinity of Europe. So, you're listening to SDRs, I've noticed so many times that a lot of broadcasts not meant for Europe are actually coming into Europe almost like local. And, when somebody in Europe tells me I don't hear nothing, look, either you have too much noise, either you have a bad radio, or your antenna's crappy, because it's impossible in Europe that you sit down with a radio and hear nothing. There's tons more signals in North America that are powerful. I mean, they're easy to hear. Here in North America, we have to cope. If you remove, the North American private broadcasters and you remove the stations that are left that still broadcast to North America, Voice of Turkey, Radio Romania, and so on, we're left with a lot of signals, but they are weak and they are more difficult to actually receive. And that's where the noise is actually playing against us. When I go to Perry Island, every single channel of a station that broadcasts to Europe or Africa actually makes it so well, and it's so easy to listen to. It's almost like listening to shortwave from the 80s when I started. Just remove that noise that we have around us, and the bands come alive in North America. And I don't know how many times that I've seen here people say, you know what? I went to a park like you suggested. Man, my radio came alive with signals. And it's like, yeah, because the noise floor is what makes the difficult reception here. A lot of the signals, they are there. They're just washed out because the noise floor is too high. Dave, what makes the audience in other markets like Europe different than North America? I don't know. I don't know if it's the diversity. Lots of European countries. I mean, in North America, we're it's the U.S., it's Canada, and it's Mexico. That's North America, and what happens is that even though there is diversity, it's not like having 25 different countries around you. It's a very different thing. There's also a noted activity. There seems to be more radio listeners in certain markets than others. And one of the things that we've seen over time, and I've seen so many times when listening to mailbag shows, for example, is how certain countries are much more active on shortwave listening than others. One of them, Germany. You would think, well, Germany, advanced country, very, very modern and industrialized and so on. Well, yeah, it's one of those places where you hear tons of people writing in and letting stations know that they are actually still listening to shortwave and to listening to their, and you could see it also with the amount of radio clubs is also another way of seeing things. One country that is very active with radio clubs on shortwave is Japan. Super advanced country with technologies that are sometimes light years ahead of what we have in North America. Still, surprising amount of people with shortwave radios. There's something different about certain areas, and I'm sure that a lot of the broadcasts follow the audience, and the audience means that if there is a lot of stations broadcasting still to Europe and they abandon North America, it's because they notice that there's a European audience. And maybe a European station also would want a European audience, like Vatican Radio, an example. They stopped broadcasting to North America, but they have, French, English, all of that. I've heard the English language Vatican Radio yesterday, I think on 97.05, yesterday afternoon here. And they broadcast to Europe and to Africa. It's different markets and different audiences, and there's something about it that the stations know that there's somebody listening, more people listening maybe in Europe. Rupert, are there any interesting shortwave stations I can listen to here in the USA that aren't Spanish or religious? Radio Romania, Voice of Turkey, Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia. What else? If you have low noise, you'll hear the BBC. You'll hear, Vatican Radio, which, by the way, Vatican Radio might sound religious, but a lot of Vatican Radio broadcasts is news about Africa and news about what's happening around the world. They have a surprising news service, actually. So you'll have these stations that you can listen to, absolutely. Radio New Zealand at night. there's a lot more than just the religious broadcasts or things in Spanish. But the thing is, you have to know what time and what frequency to tune in. That's why schedules are very, very important. But to give you an idea, in a day, I will have listened here in Montreal. Just like, we'll take yesterday. The day before yesterday. Yesterday, propagation was bad. The day before yesterday, I was tuning around. I got BBC. I've got Radio Prague via WRMI, which should be an easy one for people in North America. Radio Slovakia via WRMI is another one that's easy for North America. Radio Tirana, Albania via WRMI should be an easy one for North America. You could listen to WTWW, we were mentioning earlier, with some music, and even go to the WTWW.us webpage for to send your requests. But they have ham radio today or whatever, something like that on Wednesday. They have a couple of radio related shows there. You could listen to, there's WBCQ outside of the religious stuff. There are quite a few interesting broadcasts that could be of interest, with old time radio stuff and all sorts of unique programming, we could say. Of course, coming direct from the country of broadcast, well, Voice of Turkey has a North American service. I listened to them this afternoon, actually. They come in really well. There's Radio Romania, which is broadcasting in the evening, North America, which should make it quite well. They have an earlier service, like at 0 UT to Eastern North America. And at 03 UT, I believe, they have the Western North America service. That could be received from there. A lot of the stations that are broadcasting to Africa, for example, can be heard easily here. I hear NHK Radio Japan. I hear BBC World Service. I hear... oh man, I'm trying to figure out all these stations, AWR and stuff like that. But late at night, there could be, in the summertime, Radio New Zealand. There's some stuff out there, but you've got to tune. Religious broadcasting, RTTY. Oh man. Sheldon Harvey, nice to have you on board from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Matt says WJHR also features recordings of a long gone preacher. There are quite a few on shortwave. So yeah, I wonder also if Stair could be one of those ghosts. I had my joke on Facebook. It said, I'd rather have dead hair than dead stare. In blue, Pito Holt, people in blue are the ones that they're moderators, so that they kick out all the bad people. So nice to have you on board, DK50NV. RF Maniacs, I like that. We're RF Maniacs. That would turn out bad, Tony Turtle, if everybody could just say anything on the air. That would turn out so bad. Dan, nice to have you on board from Ohio, N8WJZ. Skip, I used a Slinky in my college dorm room with a DX160. Worked great back in the day. So, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Slinky antenna. For people that didn't have a lot of space for any antennas or anything. It seemed to be surprising. Okay, let's try to... I am exactly 20 minutes behind in the chat, guys, so just make sure that you hang in there. Hang in there. Michael Langer, nice to have you on board. Sean Narvi says, sorry, no Australian stations on 550 kilohertz. Even if there was, it wouldn't propagate to Alberta in the evening. Not sure. Yeah, you must be hearing something. Must be hearing something in the vicinity, or maybe they had some Australian some story about Australia. Skip, Mars nets are often used for message handling for overseas troops. Yep. Al, wonder what type of programming on these USA broadcasting stations would save them for the future. The problem with the broadcasting is who is listening. A lot more than anything else. And it has to, I mean, any broadcasting that will happen on these stations, they need to pay for airtime. And to pay for airtime, you need to have an audience. It all goes together. No audience, why would you pay for airtime? It's always that problem. Rick Satter, nice to have you here from Milwaukee. Roberto Rojas, nice to have you on board. Good night. Hope you are well, my friend. But even though the BBC stopped broadcasting to the US, they are still rather easily heard if you don't have too much noise, though. Sister Stair. Oh, God. Please. What else do we have? Stair Jr. Oh, man. Oh, man. I'll go on and preach. Matt says I can get WWVH on 15 regularly because I'm too close to Fort Collins to get WWV on that frequency most of the time. Yeah, you are quite close. AE1TP. Tom, what is left on the bands that is interesting to catch in your opinion? Quite a lot. I listen to stuff all day long that I find interesting. Like I said, it's the noise. If you don't have too much noise, I like to listen to programming a lot. So there's, first of all, the stations I'll listen to. So this afternoon, for example, I listened to Radio France. Fortunately for me, I speak French, so that adds to me. That is one thing also that I always have to mention, is that because I can listen to French language broadcasts, sometimes I forget that adds a new dimension to my shortwave listening, because I'm not stuck with listening to only English. I listen to French. But to give you an idea, I can easily in a day listen to NHK Radio Japan doesn't broadcast in North American English, but a couple of the time slots that they use are audible. There's Radio Prague, Radio Slovakia, and Radio Tirana from WRMI transmitters are nice. There's a lot of little programs like Voice of the Report of the Week. This is a music show. There's, of course, AWR Wavescan DX show, Glenn Hauser's World of Radio, that play through the week that are interesting to listen to. Radio Romania, Radio Voice of Turkey, have some interesting programming. Not every day, but there's often some interesting topics. Radio Romania, I like the topics when they go back in time in the communist era and stuff. So there's definitely some stuff to listen to. I hear the BBC World Service, 11810, 15400. That's, if you don't have a lot of noise, that comes in. And I mean, BBC is super interesting to listen to I find it super interesting here. So there's these things to listen to. If you don't have that, there's a lot of other stuff that I like. I like the mystery of listening to all sorts of utility signals. I like the fact that you can listen to, all sorts of aeronautical stuff and even maritime stuff, even though there's There's still some stuff out there. Mysterious signals you don't know where they come from, and number stations and stuff like that. It's fun to tune in and do a scan of the amateur bands from time to time. It's often interesting to go through them. It's not always interesting, the conversations, but sometimes you'll find some rare DX and stuff like that. It all depends what actually, and that is probably the biggest drive of you staying on listening to shortwave. What are you into exactly? And that is the real question that will drive if you're interested or not in continuing and listening to shortwave in general. John Brocato, use the MLE30 mounted in a window upside down with control box at the top of window. Can't see it from the outside. That's perfect. And it works. Upside down doesn't matter. A loop's a loop. It doesn't really have an upside down. VNG 12 megahertz from Australia. TVDXer, salut, ça va bien? J'espère que tu vas bien toi aussi. Dimitri, did our government want to give the shortwave frequency to other agencies to use it for different purpose, like police? No, not shortwave. You gotta follow the agreements of the world, and shortwave is different from a lot of the frequency ranges. The majority of the frequency ranges are local, VHF. And what happens is that shortwave by nature is propagating throughout the world. So you have no choice but to follow the rules, because if you put stuff on frequencies on shortwave that aren't supposed to be there, that's going to propagate across the world, and that might interfere with some legit broadcasting and stuff. But so shortwave is not a frequency band that could be sold technically. And I still have a hard time with how governments can say that they're selling the spectrum, because radio waves and frequencies are not, it's not tangible things. It's obviously a made up stuff to try to make money. And honestly, I don't agree with selling radio frequencies like to the big gun companies that want to build towers for cell phones and stuff. Matter the Exorcist Angel, I asked a question as I was surprised with the comments I saw. Yeah. We the best way to see what we could compare that is that we would have to exchange our locations. So, for example, if we could do the test, we could do come and spend 1 week here in Montreal. I'm going to go spend 1 week at your location. And you will see how amazingly different North American shortwave is compared to what Europe has on shortwave. And yes, as you say, signals not meant for North America will make it at some point. But the problem is with the fact that the directional pattern of these signals helps in having them often heard in a certain location. Europe is well placed for a lot of the signals to actually go through up to Europe, and a lot of broadcasts, for example, to Africa, are well placed for European listeners, because a lot of the signals are sent in the general vicinity of Europe. Where in North America, to give you an idea, the equivalent of you guys having reception of stations from Africa, meant to Africa, that go really well. When the Voice of America from Botswana transmits to West Africa, well, it transmits towards Europe, pretty much. The equivalent of that is when a station chooses the right frequency and broadcasts to Africa from the Madagascar relay. If you look on the map, Madagascar, and you broadcast to West Africa or Africa in general, you'll notice that the general direction of that signal goes to North America. So it's an equivalent of those signals in from African relays that are in the general vicinity of Europe. And those signals, when they're chosen on the right frequency, they come in here like local almost. And a great example of that is my French language NHK Radio Japan always makes a great signal here from that. African Pathways is like a local station here. Why? Because that broadcast from Madagascar, comes through North America, and the frequencies they choose lets it propagate well to North America. So, if I had if I had a wish, it would be that every station that's relays from to Africa all come from Madagascar, because it would add a lot of tons of signals that are easy to listen to. A lot of the frequencies that we hear in North America are unfortunately missing out because of the directional pattern. So when they broadcast to, when the BBC broadcasts to West Africa, that gives us the best chance here in North America. We might hear the BBC, and that's what's happening on 615 400. But it's weaker because it's really not in our direction. We're just kind of, on the side of that signal, because when they broadcast, it goes like a V shape. The radio waves will go like a V shape. So we're kind of on the side of that signal, and we can hear it. But it's weak compared to you in Europe, for example, that will be in line with the center of that signal from the Ascension Islands to West Africa. And you'll get that signal way stronger than us, and so on. And sometimes also the frequencies chosen favor an area. So I would say North America is a little bit like one of the places where a lot of people are actually, and always been kind of complaining a little bit on a lot of the stations they have a hard time, is Australia. Not that many stations actually had a service to Oceania, to Australia, basically. And so Australia was always kind of a little left out of the shortwave game in a sense, because a lot of the signals were broadcast to different areas of the world, but kind of missed Australia. So, it depends where you are. But the noise is the number one problem, because remove that noise and you will be very surprised at the amount of signals that are received on your radio. And that's why I like to go tomorrow, Thursday. It's supposed to be nice. Maybe I can have if I can, I have a little time doing a walk in the park or something to do some shortwave. But noise is the number one problem, because a lot of the signals that are not meant for us still come in well enough to be listened to easily. I'm always amazed. An example is I'm always amazed at how I could listen to the BBC all afternoon on 15400 with just a telescopic antenna on a portable in the park. And that is a Ascension Island signal to Africa. It's not coming my direction generally, but it's strong enough to be easy. It's an easy listen. Come back home, it's there. You notice it's there, but it's in the noise and you can't listen. It's crazy. Tony Turtle, can a unbalanced feed line be lossy on resonant frequency? Well, an unbalanced feed line can technically do some loss for sure. Take care, James Johnson. RJ88 Dakota can't wait to camp out back in the summer with the XH Data D808. Oh, yeah. Hey, Brent. Long time no see. Hope you're doing well, too. From Brockville, Ontario, Canada. Aerial Imaging says, yeah, the biggest eye-opening experience I had in shortwave listening was the realization of noise being as big of a game changer as it is. It's not always noise. It can sound like a clean noise floor. You know, that's the explanation of that is the explanation of that you try to give somebody when someone tells you I hear nothing. You know, when you turn on a radio, say when you don't know noise, you don't know about the noise from the devices around you. We all are, if we put ourselves all at the we don't know nothing about radio, we all agree on one thing. When we turn on the radio, when there's no station, there's static. And we all have experienced static. Now, the problem with noise with the electronic devices around you is a lot of it sounds like static. So you're new to the hobby. You turn on the radio, you hear static, which is normal, but you don't understand that the static level you have is not normal. How do you explain that to someone? And then you get a guy that comes back to me in an email or, you know, in a comment and say, look, I purchased that radio because you hear all this stuff on your videos, and I turn it on and I hear nothing, or I hear religious broadcasters and that's it. And there's a side of it that is a bummer. There's a bummer in having to tell someone, well, you're going to have to go to a park to listen to radio. Yeah, they wanted to listen in their homes, and I understand that, and I think everybody agrees that maybe that's where you want to listen to a lot of the time. But that person does not necessarily understand that the static you got is not a normal level of static, and it's blocking a lot of what you're hearing. And it's tough to explain that. It's tough to explain that because I'm pretty sure for a lot of people starting and turning on that radio for the first time, well, my radio is broken, or no, okay. Yeah, right. World radio, there's nothing on these frequencies, you know, and especially add the fact that all you'll hear is, you know, Brother Stair and company. Of course, you want to turn off that radio and never turn it on again, you know. Coax can be buried, yes, but most of the time the coax, when people bury coax, they'll bury it in some tubing, some kind of plastic tubing or something to make sure that you don't, you know, it doesn't degrade too fast. But there's certain types of coax you can purchase that are meant for that, and yes, you can bury coax, absolutely. Kill King, nice to have you here. David KJ4CMY wants everybody to do a thumbs up. Jose says, what should I buy? Texan PL398BT, PLLDSP Bluetooth, or XH Data? This will be my first shortwave radio. Does the PL398 do SSB, single sideband? If it doesn't, you should be better with the XH Data that has everything possible. But both of these radios are fairly good radios, honestly. Scott Belcher, closest I've gotten to BBC when I got New Zealand and they played BBC News briefly. I miss BBC. I've gotten that from that transmitter in England, but not while broadcasting BBC. Trimbali, Mr. Bell says, I hear stuff from the Madagascar here near Portland, Oregon. Absolutely. 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 Rupert, is there a resource for schedules? Yeah, there's quite a few. I will post a few links here. One is so this one is the easy one. It's the one that is probably the easiest to understand. Just go around with it. Short-wave.info. One that is a little more cryptic, but that is the one I use all the time. It has schedules in a list, which needs to have some understanding because there's a lot of abbreviations. But there's a by time and by frequency list. Here, EIBI space.de. Remember that local time has no importance when you listen to shortwave. You have to listen to and look at schedules in universal time. That's the real time we use in radio. It's very, very important. Canadian Radio TV guy finally got to the bottom of some of the RF noise around my house that I had since November. Found it was a noisy power supply. Yep. A lot of that can happen. A lot of that can happen. Take care, David. Dan, some AM station 7290. Yeah, there it could be also some ham operators. 7290, 95s are also AM on that frequency range. Tom Bibish, nice to have you here from Ohio. Bonne nuit, TVD Extra. A meowing lesson. We'll have the supreme leader, Paul the cat. Brother Paul. Radio Vanny Cuba is coming in super strong, but with a muffled audio quality. Yeah, happens quite regularly. Try 27185. 27185. Is there anybody on? Oops. Didn't work. 27185. No sporting e-skip, no nothing tonight. Absolutely nothing on the waterfall and the CB bands. Madrid the Extra understands Spanish, helps in listening to more stuff. Definitely, if you can listen to more than one language, it definitely helps a lot in your shortwave broadcast listening. Yogi, NHK Radio Japan had used English news bulletins in their language broadcast before. You may like to pay some attention to them. What else do we have? Gail King, I live in southern Colorado. We get all kinds of South American signals. Get interesting. What else do we have? What else do we have? Chris66, remember going to Jamaica years ago and listening to a BBC channel via FM or AM? Yeah. You know. J Dakota loves his XH Data D808. I prefer it even over my Texan PL 880. Cool. Paul, I keep getting 80 meter stations on 6 meter frequencies on the AirSpy HF on certain days using a U-loop and a discount. Using SDR console. Is there a way to filter this out? So you're getting 80 meters images on 6 meters. I've been getting a lot of little images here and there of AirSpy HF. I know a lot of people say it's the best SDR out there. I have a lot of these little weird things happening on mine that I have a hard time thinking it's the best thing out there. It's good, definitely. Best thing out there. I'm not there yet. Mad Radio DXer, I complain to myself sometimes about how much less stuff I get on Shortwave compared to the past. Now I appreciate more what I get here after the explanation and comments. And this week's, I saw this week of North American DXers. Do not complain. Yes, I can understand. We have a certain level. And of course, we've been used to a certain level. And when that level goes down to a certain level, yeah, we complain because we lost stuff. So you are entitled to complain about stuff you lost over time. That is a legitimate complaint, even in Europe. But when you compare that to North America, you have a much better shortwave environment. And not counting a lot of the local relays you have there, the low-powered relays that are pretty much making it across Europe, that have all of these relays of Radio Belarus and stuff like that. It's kind of cool. And honestly, be happy with what you have. Because I tell you, if you'd come to North America, listen to Shortwave for a couple of weeks, you'd be depressed. Robert Shine, nice to have you here. Take care, VT Radio. Always nice to have you on board. Canadian TV guy, WWN 9385, pretty strong in Alberta. RJ Dakota says there's a big difference between noise and the background static. Absolutely. It's not the same thing. The background static, background noise compared to the noise level is not the same thing. Hey, Jim, VE7COJ, nice to have you here. Yeah, I'll have to say, I listen to the BBC through the WVPS station on in Burlington, Vermont on 107.9. With the HD radio I've got now, I can actually have it. I have a 24 hours BBC stream via the HD2 channel. Canadian Radio TV guys got CFRX 6070. Let's check it out here. At this time, it rarely makes it, but in the past few days, we've had some surprising. It's HCJB. Not very strong, but HCJB's there on 6050 with Ecuadorian music. So HCJB, Quito, Ecuador, 6050 coming in. Rupert, is it better to take my radio in the park to listen at home? Oh, you'll have a lot more signals. Do the experience. Do a night of listening or a day of listening at home, and then do the same thing. But go take a few moments in the park, a beautiful day. You'll see how different it is. The noise is generated, Rupert, a lot on the devices we use. And a lot of them have these crappy switching power supplies, and those are deadly for shortwave. Plus, the electronic devices today, a lot of them emit a lot of noise in different areas. So, for sure, if you go to the park, you'll see a huge difference. Huge difference. Jolie Turco says, I use Google Translate sometimes to listen and translate to English. Not as good as being able to speak. Oh, that's for sure. But, you know, it helps. Take care, Brent. Hope you are well, my friend. Oh, yeah, noise is... it's a tough one to explain when somebody turns on a radio. Canadian Radio TV guy heard CFVP Voice of the Prairies went off the air temporarily because of vertical got surrounded in water, but I heard that they're going back on the air. Yeah, they're supposed to. We keep hearing they're supposed to, but Tribali, Mr. Bell, Air Spy HF Plus Discovery isn't the best above 30 megahertz. RGA Dakota wouldn't mind having a Texan PL990X. Jean-Francois Trudel received a Texan PL330. Wow, what a great little radio. I'm so impressed. Oh, it's amazing for what it is. I mean, for the price and all that it does, and I mean, it's just amazing. Amazing. You're better in, like, if you go to the park, Rupert, go in like mid-afternoon to late afternoon. That's when you're going to have a lot more signals. If you go at noon has never been the best of times for shortwave listening. Art Dodd, nice to have you here. Art from New Jersey, K2ADC. Robert Shine, how have your viewer numbers been? It seems as if the numbers have been creeping up slowly. And concerning your post from the other day, what needs to be done to improve broadcast radio? My views on the channel here are constantly growing. So, you know, it's pretty nice, and it's really, really cool. So, you know, it's nice to see that there's more people watching videos. As for what needs to be improved, you know, the major problem of shortwave will be a lot there'll be a lot of, I don't know, you know, what can you do about US shortwave broadcasters when most of their transmissions anyways are to North America? You got to find an audience. You got to know if somebody's going to listen to you, and that's a complex thing today. In 2021, having your audience, and you know, you got ours guys, but you know, we're not the typical audience they might want to have. Yeah, that's the other thing also. The AirSpy Discovery, if it's the AirSpy HF Plus Discovery, it's not meant to be used on 6 meters. That's also something. Plasma TVs are deadly noise machines. Plasma TVs are really, really deadly machines. Well, it's nice to have people like you, Rupert, and it's fun to have people listening to the bands. WTWW. They're not usually going bigger than 10. I don't think so. What does it look like here? That looks, it's not as strong as every night, but let's zoom in on this thing. WTWW. So, Well, you might be right, as it seems to be going down up to about, I don't know, it does have some little, yeah, it seems to be a little wider than 10, absolutely. This seems to be a little wider than 10. Well, morning and evening bring different stations in different locations, but like here in North America, the biggest amount of stations are mostly from Europe most of the time, or Africa. So there'll be a better evening most of the time, or late afternoon than early morning. Very often, but the early morning we can, there's some Asian signals that might make it. So what do we have? Canadian Radio TV guy says I'm 17 and still live with my parents. Have been trying to convince them to switch out our 50-inch plasma TV in the living room for the 46-inch Sony Bravia LED TV in the basement. Oh man, yeah, but you gotta, try to convince people to move 4 inches smaller. They don't want to. And, you listen to your hobby and they're like, yeah. You're annoying with your radio stuff. Oh, God. That reminds me, Canadian Radio TV guy. When I was listening to Shortwave in the 80s, my next door neighbor purchased a big, it was a 20, back then that was big, believe me. In 1984, 5-ish, when you had a 26-inch TV in your home, you had a big TV, believe me. That was big TVs. And when they purchased that Sony TV, I noticed that there was specific frequencies where there was a buzzing. I would hear a TV buzzing. And I mean, compared to the noise we have today, it was very low, but it was still there. And I remember particularly it had one of the harmonics of that buzzing was on 17795. And for anybody listening to Shortwave for a long time, 17795 was Radio Australia, making it in the evening in North America with a pretty decent signal most of the time. And I was mad as hell because my Radio Australia listening suddenly was hampered by a buzzing of their TV. And they would go to bed, in the weekdays they would go to work, so they would go to bed at like 11 p.m. And I would wait until 11 p.m. when I will, hear their TV shut down. And when they shut it down, I mean, the buzzing would just immediately go away. And I was like, yeah, I got to listen to Radio Australia after midnight now because they listen to the TV late. It was, oh man. It was crazy. And, that was probably one of my first times that I had to deal with radio frequency interference that was coming from a neighbor. So, oh God. So, hey, everybody. We've been on for 2 hours and 34. It's almost here. It's like 10:35 p.m. I'm a little tired. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And you know what? After I've settled down everything, I think I'm going to open this thing up tonight and check out if I can change the battery inside this thing or charge it in some way. thanks for being here. It was a fun show tonight. Lots of information, lots of things about noise and all. So it's kind of cool to talk about all of that. As for the rest, I don't want to add too much about Brother Stair and stuff. Let's just say, well, I wouldn't be surprised it continues on shortwave for some, they'll have some way of continuing the broadcasts. And if not, that's going to be a real ultimate test of private broadcasting in the United States. How can they survive? How can they survive that type of, all that money's gone? It's going to be a tough one. So take care, everybody. Stay safe. I see that there's a request for Moscow Nights. So we're going to go here. And you know what? I find it funny because I never keep it in a like a bookmark or anything. But I've noticed that on specific days like Wednesday and Saturday, Moscow Nights is one of the top videos that YouTube wants me to play. And it doesn't happen on the other days. It's as if it's seen a pattern that, we're Wednesday. Moscow Nights is probably something you want to play tonight. So stay safe, everybody. Take care. Love you all. And see you Saturday at 20 hours UTC. Don't forget, there's a Facebook group, same name as the channel here, official SWL channel. Bye-bye, everyone.
signed an agreement expanding the special rights vis-à-vis Germany. You're tuned to Radio Berlin International, the voice of the German Democratic Republic, with a program of news, current affairs and features for listeners in Europe. We begin with the news. First, the main points of the news. At the CSCE Foreign Ministers meeting in New York, the GDR has acknowledged the duty of Germans to help preserve peace. The GDR Parliament is meeting in Berlin today for the last time before the unification of the two German states. Britain has come out against permanent UN Security Council membership for Germany. The United States House of Representatives has called on